Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you as always from Germany. Today is Monday, Easter Monday, the 22nd of April 2019. So happy Easter to those of you who are celebrating. And this is another episode of the podcast. So welcome if you're a new viewer. I really hope that you will enjoy this. And if you're coming back, thank you so much for coming back. You guys know how much I appreciate those of you who do. So before we get started, let's have some coffee. First coffee of the day. It's like 2 in the afternoon. I've already been running and I haven't had coffee. I mean, I don't know what's happened to Julia, but this new person here is apparently healthy and active and all these things, which is insane. But anyways, this is a knitting podcast, so first of all I will talk very briefly about knit-alongs and stuff like that, followed by a ton of finished objects, works in progress, some spinning, some acquisitions, and possibly some chatter. We will just see how it goes. So welcome, I hope you have some knitting to keep you company, and I will just start rambling. So we have a group on Ravelry called the Happy Knitting Podcast Group, which you can always find linked right underneath this video. And that is where we have giveaways, knit-alongs, introduction threads and such. So at the moment we have one knit-along, which is the Stranger Brews knit-along, and it is a knit-along to knit any of the patterns from the Strange Brew collection by Tinka Knits. That knit-along is kind of sleeping right now because I was away, and maybe right now not everyone is feeling in the mood to knit color work and sweaters, but it is still going. No one really told me what you want to do with it. I'm thinking we might leave the threads open until the end of May. So again, please comment underneath this video or in the chatter threads or wherever you want. If you have any sort of opinions as to where you are in the knit-along, when you want to end it and such. And we have a prize to give away at the end too, which is a lovely color workbook as a gift from a viewer who is Brigitte. So thank you again, Brigitte, and we will just work that out as we go. Besides that, I don't do any show notes, but I try to keep detailed project pages. So again, you will find the link underneath this video. And just find me on Ravelry and you will then just be able to find everything I talk about here. So at least that's the hope. Sorry, I feel like I'm kind of clunky with this whole recording a podcast, even though I did one last week, so I don't know why. Let's just keep going. Maybe it is the lack of coffee after all. So you guys, I have 5 finished objects today. I mean, I don't know how that happened, but there are 5 things that I finished. Some of them I kind of expected. I had a lot of almost finished things last week, so that kind of explains it a little bit. But let's just jump in. So first of all, I finished my shawl. This is the Cafe Knitting Shawl by Stephen West. I'm sure you all know Stephen West, West Knits. And this was one of the knits I did during my honeymoon. It was pretty close to being done last time I talked to you. Am I showing you? Oh, I'm showing you the wrong side. Isn't that great? Let's show you the front side as well. And you can actually see the pretty slip stitches. So this is the pattern. I explained in detail last week that I am using the wrong yarn for this and kind of modified it so it is not the size that it should be, but it's still a very sizable shawl. The yarn I used was a trio set of 3 50-gram skeins of yarn by Dibadou, who is a German dyer. It's called Funny's Trio Aquarelle number 488, even though I think they are always one-off colorways. But here's the tag in case you're interested. And I knit this on a 4mm needle, and yeah, I feel like I don't have that much to talk to you about this. I really like the finished object. I think it's large enough for a shawl to wear. I was going to take this with me on our trip, which I'll talk about later, but I forgot it at home, hence there are no project photos of this yet, but there will be at some point. So that is finished object number 1. Let's keep going with a bunch of socks. First of all, I finished my colorwork socks. These are my first ever colorwork socks that I finished. Not the first ones I attempted, I might say. These are the Norse socks, Norse socks. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I only used the first chart, so there are two charts. The second one is for like a colorwork heel, which I decided to just do a fish lips kiss heel instead, and then I did some contrasting toes, and they are done. These were knit out of Coop Knits socks, yeah. They're sock yarn. Don't ask me for the colorway names, I just don't know. I'm very sorry about that. But I used 2 50-gram balls of this yarn. What else? 2.25 millimeter needles, which is what I used for all of the socks that I'm showing today, so I won't keep repeating that. But they are done. They bled like crazy. I'm not sure I'm going to wash them in the machine anytime soon, which also means I'm not going to gift them, because I'm not going to gift bleeding socks to anyone. But yeah, I'm hoping that once I've washed them a couple of times, it will get better, and yeah, at least they're done now, so that's the main thing. And next up, I also finished my Hermione's Everyday socks. Again, I showed these to you last week. I think I had already started the second sock, but I wasn't very far on it. But I got sick, so I had time to knit some socks this week. This yarn is Lang Yarn's Super Socks Cashmere, so it has a small content of cashmere in the sock yarn, which means that it is super soft, and I really enjoyed working with it, even though I don't usually like working with the Super Socks yarn. The ones with cashmere is really nice, as it turns out. This is colorway number, I think it's 205. I know people have asked me and I looked it up and now I can't find it. Oh, there we are. 25, in case you're interested, and it's this really fun gradient sock yarn, and I just knit 2 long tubes and then added some contrasting afterthought heels just by pulling from the other side of the ball. And the Hermione's Everyday Socks pattern is of course a free pattern on Ravelry by Erika Luda. So these are almost always also done. I'm sorry I don't speak English anymore. Apparently I've forgotten all the words. But anyways, they're done. I'm very happy about that. And yeah. Next up, I'm running out of sock blockers, but I have yet another pair of socks. Again, these were almost done last time I talked to you. These were my honeymoon socks, so I cast these socks on the plane to our honeymoon and finished them on the plane back. Again, I knit just tubes, and then last weekend actually, I picked them up and added in some afterthought heels. So again, third pair of socks is done without sock blockers. Sorry about that. They are completely matching, which always is fun for me, even though I don't have to match my socks all the time. Sometimes I do enjoy it. And the yarn for this is by self-strapping, obviously from a UK-based dye. This is from Laughing Yaffle in the Spice Jar colorway. And this is her card. So again, really happy with these socks. I can't remember the last time I finished so many pairs of socks, but it's very fun. And that was supposed to be it in terms of my finished objects, but there is more. And I knit something that I never thought I would knit, to be honest. I saw this pattern before on people and I thought it was really cool, but I just never ever thought I would knit myself a bralette. I mean, I don't know. I like people who do it. I think it's really cool, but I never saw myself knitting one. And they've been popping up all over Instagram. I'm really sorry, I don't know the designer's name, but if you look up Ripple Bralette, you will find it. And I just thought, you know what, that is actually really cool. And like some people are knitting them more like longer, sort of like tops, or like in the shape of like sports bras, like loungewear, wear at home, whatever. And I just thought, oh, that would be really, really fun. And I only had one skein of sock yarn with me because we were away. And that was a skein of hedgehog fibers, hedgehog fiber sock yarn in the Flutter colorway, which was a club colorway from a while ago when I used to be in the club. So I just decided to cast on a bralette, and guess what? It is hard to show you guys, but I finished it. I finished this within like 24 hours of starting it, and you guys, first of all, how fun is the color? And second of all, I love it. So as you can see, I did a relatively short sort of bralette, and it looks really weird unless you put it on, and for obvious reasons, I'm not going to put it on the podcast. Sorry if you got your hopes up. No one got the hopes up for that. Anyhow, it is a ribbed sort of bralette thing. So obviously when you don't stretch it out, it looks really weird. But then when you put it on, it's actually really nice. I love the fit. I didn't swatch for this. I just decided to go for I think the second size up, possibly. Went down a couple of needle size because I just did what I wanted. So I did, I replaced, there's supposed to be twisted ribbing at the bottom. I just did normal ribbing. Went down to a 2.25 millimeter needle. And then I knit the body of the bralette, or whatever you want to call it, on a 3.25 millimeter needle. And this was so fun to knit. This is like knitting socks. It goes very, very, very fast. And I didn't have too high expectations in terms of the fit, because obviously I just did whatever felt like, and I didn't really read the pattern too carefully either. But it turns out it fits really well, and it's really cute, and I love it, and I'm going to knit 1,000 more because these are really comfortable. So I'm sorry, I think showing a bra off on the podcast is kind of weird. But I just thought it was so fun, and I know maybe some of you guys are knitting some as well. If so, let me know. We can start a knit along. I just thought it was so fun, and also a really fun way to use up some yarn. This didn't use up very much. So I think I have enough left of the hedgehog fibers to knit a pair of socks. And I've been wanting to knit more shorty socks too, so that just works out perfectly. So that is it in terms of 5 finished objects in 12 minutes, which I think that went pretty well. I feel like I'm kind of speeding through things today, but I do want to keep this kind of short this time. Like I said last week when I recorded a 50-minute podcast, today I hope it's going to be shorter. Because I finished all the things, I don't have that many whips, which is a lie. I have many whips. But I'm not going to show you my pavement today because I've only knit like maybe 2 inches, maybe 4 inches. More like 2 inches of stockinette, so that's not interested. What else? I have not knit on my night shift. Is it called night shift shawl? What's it called? Is it night shift? I think it is. The shifty thing from Andrea Maury. I haven't knit on that either. I've been doing some crochet, but I forgot to bring that over. But I've also brought over some whips. Before you think I'm the worst podcaster ever, I have cast on some socks because I was a little bit sick last week. I don't know what I came down with, but basically right after the holiday it started, and it wasn't fun, but now I'm good, so don't worry. But I got some new yarn from Lana Grossa. I should talk about it in my acquisition section, but we're talking about it now. This is some of their Meilenweit yarn, and they have these new colors that are, I guess, similar to Regia Perfect, where you have 250-gram balls and they do the sort of self-patterning sock. So this is colorway number 605, and it looks really, really boring. And wait until you see the sock. Ta-da! How fun is this, right? I love this. So again, you start from the inside of the ball and knit the ribbing, and then you just knit stockinette until you get to the main color, I guess. So from here on out, I'm in the middle of the heel, which is why I can't show this to you very well. But from here on out, the rest of the sock is just going to be this very, very dark navy. But the leg has this really fun striping sequence, and it turned out so much nicer than I actually expected this yarn to look. So very, very happy with these. It's also very interesting because they don't have pictures on the ball bands, but I saw some pictures online and the socks were much shorter. But even though I'm doing 64 stitches, so I'm doing a quite large sock, the leg just went on forever, which I don't mind. I like long legs. I know some people who wouldn't really like it, but I really like it. It's just a basic stockinette sock. I feel like I'm doing a very, very bad job at explaining it today, but we'll just keep running. This is where we are with it. To be honest, after all these socks that I finished, kind of lost my sock mojo. I've been taking these with me when we were just like traveling a little bit over the weekend, and I didn't even take them out of the bag most of the time because I was just kind of over knitting socks. Also, this yarn, I really like it, but it's not the softest. It's a very sort of sturdy sock yarn which will last forever. But yeah, I'm just not really gravitating towards this right now, but that'll change eventually. And if not, these are great travel socks for whenever I travel next for work. Yeah, so that is my first whip. I'm sorry, I have so much stuff on my desk. Usually I try to keep my desk sort of organized. But ever since getting back from the holiday, there's like bills and paperwork and everything has just been stacking up, and I need to deal with that very, very badly. Anyhow, let's have some coffee. By the way, we are going to get interrupted sooner or later because, like I said, we just went for a run and Kai is training for a half marathon, so he is still running and eventually he will ring the doorbell. Anyhow, in this bag, which is too small for this project, in here I have what is my pride and joy, and that is my Airy sweater by Isabel Krämer. And it doesn't actually have the needles attached to it because I finished the body. This is terribly scrunched up, by the way, but you can get the idea. So this is the Airy sweater by Isabel Krämer. I think this was in one of the Line magazines, but I just bought it as a single pattern on Ravelry. And this, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so proud of it. It is blowing out the camera, but this is my first ever like proper cabled sweater. And cables were one thing that I wanted to conquer this year. I mean, I know how to do them, but I just don't really do a lot of cabled things. And I cast this on and I have just been loving this project. I mean, I don't know, it's really hard to talk about difficulty in knitting. I found this quite difficult compared to like colorwork sweaters and stuff, just because I feel like colorwork is like right in front of you. Like you have a complicated yoke, but you're only doing that. Whereas with this, you're doing increases and lace and moss stitch and mock cables and cables. But the result is so beautiful and I have just been loving this. So last night I bound up the body. I hope it's got the right length. I kind of did my own thing in terms of the length. I considered making it cropped, but then decided against that. And I tried this on when I was still working on the body, and the fit of the shoulders of this garment is just amazing. I'm really, really, really happy with this. Yeah. So that is my Airy sweater. I desperately need to pick up all the sleeves and knit the sleeves, but I only caked up one skein of yarn for a trip, and this is how much I had left, so I just decided to bind off and then cake up more yarn and knit the sleeves when we get back. So, oh my gosh, I just love this texture. I just keep wanting to show it to you guys, even though it blows out the camera. All right, so that was kind of coming back. Anyhow, as you can hear, I am very, very happy about this sweater. The yarn that I'm using is this beautiful yarn that I got on sale. I'm very proud of that. This is the Fiberco Cambria fingering. Here's the label. I thought I got the DK. Turns out I got the fingering. And the colorway is Cowberry, which I think they are discontinuing, which is why I got this like 50% off, but I may be wrong, I don't know. And this is 300 meters per 100 grams, and it's a mix of, what is it? Messam, merino, and mohair. So I really enjoy this yarn. I think it is the perfect yarn for this project. It tends to blow out, so this is a more true representation of the color, but I really, really like it. And I have 4 skeins, and I knit the entirety of the body in two skeins, even though it's quite cabled. So that is A, really, really amazing, and B, maybe I'll have 1 skein left over, which would be really, really cool. So yeah, anyways, that is my Eri sweater. And yeah, I think for 2 days, I just monogamously worked on that because I have just been really enjoying it. And ever since splitting for the sleeves, it became very intuitive as well. So I didn't have to look at any charts anymore. So that was really, really fun. I usually just enjoy knitting when I don't have to like follow something row by row. Like that is not relaxing for me. And I think I've gotten quite good at knitting like complicated things, even like with charts and stuff, while watching TV and stuff. But if it's just too slow, it just annoys me. But yeah, anyways, the last project that I got with me to get today to show you guys is one that you haven't seen in a while, and this is my blanket project, one of my many, many blanket projects. I think I have like 4 or 5 blankets on the needles, and I just the other day thought about casting on another one. So yeah, maybe we have a problem there, but maybe we don't. This is the Vivid Blanket, another pattern by Tin Can Knits. And I think the last time I showed this to you, I had 4 squares done. These 4, I think. And now these are 6 squares that I have already seamed together. So I'm not sure if you have seen this before, but this is how far I am in terms of the seamed blanket. And then I also finished this one. This is how they look before you block them, by the way. So you block each square and then you attach them. So you have a nice comparison shot right here. And I am on the border of another one. So this is the one I knit this morning before we left. And I'm just really, really enjoying knitting up these little squares every now and then. Like, again, I've mostly memorized the pattern, so then it is very easy, it's very fun. Basically, the lace portion, which is what I've done here, is really fun, and then you need to do the lace border, the garter border, which is a little bit less fun. But yeah, I have been working on it, so I just wanted to show it to you again. I'm using 3.5 millimeter needles for this, and the yarn that I'm using, I have this whole bag. This is by my huge drawstring bag by Cat in the Bag Creations, I think they're called, on Etsy. And in here I just have a whole bunch of these 25-gram balls of Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight. So I am knitting the entire blanket out of this yarn, much to Kai's discomfort, because this is a very woolly yarn and I love this yarn. This is one of my favorite yarns. Not sponsored, by the way, just love it. But Kai thinks it's super scratchy, and it is kind of scratchy. I love it. He hates it. So his enthusiasm for this blanket has shrunk quite a bit ever since he touched it for the first time. But I love it, and that's all that matters, and it's going to be a really nice warm blanket, and it's going to get softer anyhow, so I'm not worried. So I have, I think, 10 or 12 of these 25-gram balls. Maybe it's only 8. I don't know. I have all these different colors, and each ball gives me, or should give me, 2 squares. So each color will only be repeated twice. It will be repeated once, right? I'm so confused today. Yeah, really enjoying this project. And And these squares are like a little fun thing you can do when you're kind of in between projects. Sometimes I don't want to work on a sweater, I don't want to pick up a sock, but I can knit one of these squares in like, I don't know. I could probably knit, I think I've knit one in 1 hour when I really, really knit properly. But if I'm chatting away and doing stuff and watching TV, maybe 2 hours, but that's just really fun, and it's always rewarding to have like a square done. And I think so far I have been blocking every time I've finished 2 squares and then have been attaching them. So you are making some progress, and that's been really fun. So that's most of what I've been working on lately. Like I said, the other things aren't really worth showing to you right now. But I've also finished some spinning. So before we went away on our honeymoon and before our wedding and all of that, so like ages ago, I decided to spin another sock yarn, and I pulled out my last remaining merino nylon braid from Das Mondschaf, and I spun very thin singles, and then I actually plied them as a chain ply or 3-ply the morning before we left for our wedding trip, I guess you could say. And that had just been sitting on my wheel, so I took it off the wheel, counted the yardage, washed it and all of that, and finished the yarn, and here it is. So this is a chain ply, which is a 3-ply method that keeps the colors mostly together. I got about 350 meters, which is perfect. I like my hand-spun sock yarn to be just like slightly thicker. And with this, I was actually quite worried about having spun the singles too thin. So I put in quite a lot of twist, because I know that obviously the more twist you put in, the more yardage you will lose, which is usually not something that most spinners want, but in this case I wanted it. And it turned out to be a really soft and squishy yarn. I really like how it turned out. And I think the colors are just so crazy. It's going to be a fun pair of socks whenever I knit it up. So this is done. I'm very excited about this. I'm also just generally so excited about spinning at the moment. It's all I can think about. I have some exciting plans, which I'm not sharing yet, but I have some spinning plans on my future, and yeah. So that is that. And in case you're wondering, I'm spinning on a Woolmaker's Bliss, which is, I have the single treadle version. It's a super beginner friendly wheel, and I've been spinning on it for years, and I wouldn't really consider myself a beginner anymore, and it's still an amazing, amazing wheel. Yeah, so that is that, and the only thing that's left to talk about is some acquisitions. So the acquisitions that I have to show you this week are things that I bought when I was actually in Mauritius, because I was missing my stash and I had lots of free time. So what do you do when you're on your honeymoon? You order some yarn. So the first order that I placed was from a yarn company that I've been wanting to try for a while, and that is Hobium Yarns, who are in Turkey. I've heard them talked about in different podcasts, and Ellie, who is always enabling me to buy all the yarn, Ellie of Skandir, she was talking about this recycled DK weight wool, and I decided to give it a go. So they had this deal where you can get, I think, 10 balls of this 50-gram yarn for a very, very reasonable price. So I just decided to jump on it and try it. And this is their Lamia Just Wool, 50 grams, 116 meters, and it says 100% recycled wool. And what I like about it is that it has these little tweedy flecks. So that just looked really fun, and also I just always do whatever Ellie does because I have no creativity of my own. So I just got this to try it, and it arrived last week. It's very, very soft. It feels different than I thought. It almost feels a little bit cottony, which it isn't, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. But it's a very, very soft yarn, so I've already been thinking about using this maybe for like gift sweater knits, because there are a couple of sweaters that I want to knit for my sisters, and I feel like this might be a good alternative. But I haven't tried it yet. It just arrived. And then the other thing I bought for exactly the same reason, being that I was bored and on honeymoon and found a sale as well, which never helps, is I picked up a couple of sock yarns from Lana Grossa. I ordered straight from them, and I got the one that I showed you before, the Riga yarn with the self-striping at the top. And I'm not going to go through every skein because I think that's really boring to like show you like I got this colorway and this colorway and this and that. But I got the Riga also in this pink with a couple of stripes for the same reason. I just think it's a really fun yarn. It would be good for gift knits. And then they had a ton of their sock yarn, a ton of their Mile and Wide on sale. So I picked up a couple of skeins. I got a self-strapping one. I got one really crazy one, very excited about this one. And then the rest of them, I got one, I tried their soy base. And it's really, really soft. It feels really great, this one. So they have like a, 60% wool, 20% polyamide, and 20% viscose/soy. Even though I just read that viscose isn't really great. So I have to make some more research into that. But anyways, and yeah, I just got a couple of skeins for gift knits. Only when they arrived, I realized that pretty much all of them were pink, and not everyone who I knit for loves pink, so I'm not sure what I was thinking. But anyways, that in a nutshell is my acquisitions, and yeah, so that's it for the yarny content. And to be honest, in terms of non-yarny things to talk about this week, I think I'm going to keep it short. Last week when I just recorded, I had just gotten back from the honeymoon, and you guys, it was really hard coming back. I also got sick on my first day back, and it was not fun and not great, but I recovered and eventually got back into work, and then now we're just having a long Easter weekend, so we had Friday off, and today is Monday, we still have Monday off. And Kai and I, we went down to Allgäu, which is where we go quite often. If you've been watching before, you may know. There's this little place there where we can just basically stay whenever we want to, and it's really relaxing in the Alps. So we had great weather. It's like pretty much summer here in Germany right now. One day we took the gondola up into the Alps, and it was amazing. We've been doing lots of walks, we've been quite active, and today we just drove back and then went straight for a run. And the weather is still great, so I'm really looking forward to just hang out the rest of the day. And yeah, we've been watching Billions, which is like the best TV show ever. It's been so much fun watching that. We just started season 2. And I think that is pretty much it in terms of a live update for now. So, what else is there to talk about? I think I'm just going to let you guys go for now. I hope this episode didn't feel too rushed. I'm sat right now in this huge chaos. There's like yarn everywhere, and then you can't see it, but over there are all of our wedding presents, which we kept out on purpose because we want to look at them again. And then Kai has been like decluttering and selling stuff and selling books, so there's like boxes everywhere right now. It is kind of stressing me out, but we will tackle that. We still have to do a little bit of like thank you cards need to go out. Paperwork needs to be done, but we are getting there. Actually, I have one funny story before I leave. The other day I went to, I don't even know the English word. I went to get my passports changed because obviously, or maybe not obviously, but my last name has changed. I decided to take Kai's name, which I'm very happy about. Anyhow, I went to get the passports changed, and it was very, very, very much last minute because I got a last minute appointment. Basically fell out of bed, into my shoes, ran off to get that done. And lucky, I just packed all the things that I thought I might need, and it all worked out, and I was really happy. And then it came to paying, and guess who forgot their bank pin? I remember being on honeymoon and like lying there and thinking, well, what was my pin again? But I was sure it was going to come back to me when it had to, because let's be honest, this is not the first time that has happened to me. But there was no chance. I was standing there and there was this line behind me, and this woman, she was quite nice, but obviously, I mean, she had a job to do. And I was like, I couldn't pay. And I tried paying with my credit card, and they wouldn't let me, and they wouldn't. It was just, it was terrible. And I just ran off and walked around the entire building and thought about what to do and had all these ideas, and nothing worked. And I thought about calling Kai at work and making him come around with some money so I could pay, so I could leave, and so on. And long story short, in the end, I don't know how, but in the end, the pin came back to me and it all worked out. But that was both hilarious and very stressful. But it's all done, and yeah, I'm just getting things done step by step, one by one, and hopefully next time we talk, or at least at some point in the near future, I will be back to my organized self, and yeah. So, anyways, thank you so much for watching this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, even though I feel like it was a little bit all over the place, and also I lost all of my English language skills, or maybe just speaking skills in general. We don't know. I'm off to have some more coffee, enjoy the sun. I hope you had a great Easter weekend, and happy knitting. I will see you soon. Bye.